Ladies and gentlemen, if you could silence your phones, please get to the Good evening, everyone. We're going to stand and we'll say a prayer. So if everyone can stand, if you have a hat, please remove your hat. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this gathering here this evening. 912 Project of the Lehigh Valley, Lvtp, formerly Lehigh Valley Tea Party, for all our royal members and guests, our speakers. Be with each and every one of this evening. We pray for Charlie Kirk's soul, for our president and our vice president, and for all our representatives. We ask you to awaken the voters and realize that they have an opportunity to vote for freedom, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and not to take that for granted. We ask you for our side to turn out and vote and make America great again. Bless this meeting. Amen. Amen. Standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing for the national anthem. Okay, technology.
Oh, say, can you see our love's early light? What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight.
Columbus Day, right around the corner. Politics is about salesmanship. Imagine Christopher Columbus, an Italian sailor. Did he get the money from an Italian? No. Who was the person he got the money from? From what country? So the guy had to be a great salesman. He had to say, "Who is he? He didn't have any money. I need a couple ships." She said, "What's in it for me? Fortunes and fame." That's what politics is about, folks. It's about selling one another how important this country is. So, to me, it's kind of like what's going on in New York City. My father, from Cuba, as a young man, he knew Castro was a communist. What happened was he was in Easton, they went back to Cuba. Once Castro was elected, and he saw what happened, he said, "I gotta get out of here quick." So he got out, but that left my family behind. It's called fear motivation. When I was young one day, I was in Texas, and it just so happens I was invited to a millionaire from Texas. And when you're talking about a millionaire from Texas, you're talking money. So at that time I was young, and what happened was there was a bunch of other people there, Eagle Scouts, West Point cadets, graduates, Naval Academy, and this gentleman invited us to his backyard. He said, "I know you're a swimmer." He said, "As you can see here, I have here an Olympic-sized pool." He says, "Now, I've put in this pool water moccasins, alligators, snakes." He says, "Now the first one of you that can get in this pool and swim successfully to the other side, you get one of the three things. You either get $1 million in cash, 100 acres of my land, which is full of oil wells, or the hand of my beautiful daughter, who gets it all? She's my only child. Immediately, you heard it splash, and you witnessed there a record swim. The millionaire went to the other side of the pool. As the man came out soaking wet, he said, "That was amazing." He says, "Let me ask you a question. Would you like the $1 million in cash?" He said, "No." He said, "Would you like the 100 acres of my fine land full of oil wells?" He said, "No." He said, "Would you like the hand of my beautiful daughter?" He said, "No, sir." He said, "No, sir." He said, "What would you like?" He said, "I'd like the name of the guy that pushed me in at the other side of the pool." Folks, I cannot believe people will not get out there to vote when you have such things like going on in New York City, in New Jersey, with their electric going up. And I love New Jersey. I lived in New Jersey a lot. That's my other home. 2 cities in New Jersey, Elizabeth and Phillipsburg. And we shouldn't have to move to another state because they're going to take away our guns or they're raising our taxes. If you'd like to live here in the Lehigh Valley, and we're going to hear about some fear politics here from some of our representatives, what's going on here tonight. Folks, you've got to get people to get out there and vote. All of you are going to vote, but we need to make this happen. All right. Real quick here, notice, again, distribution of any and all literature, unless it is approved by me, it doesn't go on the table. If anyone sees something that does not look kosher, please let me know. On that note, today is Yom Kippur. When I lived in Elizabeth, I knew it very well because I lived in an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood, so happy holidays to anyone who's celebrating Yom Kippur. Okay? So. And we have here, when our speakers are up there on stage, please give them your total respect. If you have any conversation with anyone, take it out into the hallway. Simple as that. Membership and treasury reports is as follows. Our total members, we have over 7,000 members, 7,465 members. Our bank balance is $53,869.93, and our credit line is $24,000. Okay? First time attendees, is anyone here this evening attending the Lehigh Valley MAGA organization for the first time? If you are, please stand up, and we will get a round of applause. All right, so as you saw our bank balance, we say, well, why do we need money? Folks, we need money because money talks, okay? No money, no money. So we need money to defend ourselves and to be able to communicate and get our message out there and to run this organization. It is a business and we have operating expenses. Some of the ways we generate profits is through our 50-50 raffle, and that's run by Bo and Tom Jordan in the back with those yellow tickets. We're expecting a high jackpot tonight, so make sure you get that. Also, we have another raffle. It's called the 100 ticket raffle. We sell, I believe, 100 tickets, and then the winner gets half, we get half. So Emily is selling those. Do we know? Oh, it's actually, who's back there? Melissa, you know how many we have left?
This is 100 gun tickets.
Right, 100 gun, and what number are we at?
We have 17 tickets to go.
17, let's get that out tonight. 17 tickets left, okay? They're $10 each, and you can go to any of the 3 gun organizations that are up there, Rally Hunter, Lehigh Valley Sporting Place, or AF Warrior Hardware, okay? Then, if you need money and you don't have cash, you don't have a check, you can go to our swiping machines and purchase what is called our chips. They're $10 a piece. And I want to thank our members. When we switched to those machines, which are called square machines, it has made such a difference for processing things. So thank you for believing. Every time we come forward to you and say we want to try something else, you guys come through for us. On that note, on the memberships, I know you hear different things. Okay, what are you guys doing? We are trying to move to the new way of doing things. If you go to a gym, they don't take cash. You go to Dorney Park, they don't take cash. They don't take checks. Everything is with a card. So we are trying to encourage people to renew their membership now, 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years. For people who are joining now, what we're trying to do is get new members in here, people that are under the age of 50 here, and they will pay the extra money to be members. So believes that we're trying to do the best for the organization. As far as the new part, since we are turning to LV Manga, there's going to be a little delay, but we are going to put in new parts. We will hopefully have them December or January for you. And if you don't pick them up at the meeting, we will mail them to you. Also, then we have in the back, we have brownies, cannolis, and crumb cakes. That supports my opportunity to take scouts to West Point. How about that presentation by Headset to the journalists the other day? Can't wait to get back up to West Point. All right, but if you will be kind enough to support them by buying brownies, cannolis, crumb cakes. We sell the cannolis for $3. There was in an Italian restaurant yesterday. They sell them for $5. We're not making much off this. All right, next thing. U.S. Law Shield, they were here earlier this year. If you have any type of handgun, if you ever have unfortunately got into a physical confrontation with someone, you're going to need an attorney. The last thing you want to do is go looking for an attorney because you might not find the right attorney, or you're going to pay more for the consultation fee than getting U.S. Law Shield. Folks, it's a great investment, and we are having a seminar. It was supposed to be last week. We have delayed it. It's going to be at the end of this month, on the 27th. It's for free. It's going to be a pizza ship. You're going to get a free meal, and you're going to be well informed about weighing your options in case you have to use deadly force. You will meet our attorney, and you will have an opportunity to join. But you have to register. Melissa was nice enough to print out the flyers. You either go and use that QR code, or if you look, the text that I sent out today, on the front of the text, there's a link where it would say, register for U.S. Law Shield. Then we have our big raffle, which is the Guns and Goodies Raffle 3. Thank you for everyone who is purchasing those tickets. We are already in the black, other than we still have to pay for the guns. If you go to the website, or I believe the MailChimp, if you see those are all hyperlinks, you can see those guns there. If you don't want to win, if you don't want the gun, if you win the gun, you can go to the border and say, look, I'd like to upgrade, downgrade, or I'd like to exchange my winning gun for cash in minus $50 each. Right on the back of the ticket. I am looking for sellers. There's an incentive for sellers. It's on the back of the ticket. Okay, if you sell 10 tickets, you get one free. If you sell, I believe, 50, you get some cash. Anyone that wants to be a seller, see, it's in our best interest to keep this organization running, so I'm asking for your assistance. Remember what Columbus had to do to get to sell Queen Izzy. I'm asking you guys to try to sell some tickets. All right, next up is our friend Valerie Ferguson from Williams Township in Easton, Pennsylvania. She has a box here. Oh. You're on.
What a salesman he is, isn't he? By the way, I was in Manhattan yesterday, and I had a cannoli. It was this big. It was this big, and I paid for it. So get one here. All right, what a beautiful day it is today. And you know what's so great about it? We have the freedom to be able to come here, unlike so many other countries. Well, besides being in New York yesterday, I was in Boston last week. And I had the pleasure, doing the usual sights. I've been there before, but I had never been to the Boston Tea Party Museum. Did anybody ever go? I highly, highly recommend it. It was a blast. And there was a reenactment, and the volunteers, so you know who, had the pleasure of participating. I told my daughter a mutiny. She says, Mom, it wasn't a mutiny, it's called a revolution. So I had the pleasure of throwing a carton of tea over the ship. The only thing is, you're supposed to pull it back up.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's what I said. Okay, but it was, my string was a lot longer than anybody else's. and I did get it back up. But yeah, I thought. So, the reason I tell you this is it was so much fun, but the box is a little bit bigger than the box that I send to the troops. Now this looks really tiny, doesn't it? But you can imagine what we pack in it. We start with magazines. By the way, I'm looking for women's magazines. I have enough gun magazines. And I'm pretty good with the fishing right now, Tom, you know. But anyway, I'm looking for some women's magazines. And not this month. But the magazines, toiletries, snacks, pens, playing cards. It's amazing. Sometimes when we go to close them up, I said, it's a really nice surprise. So I thank all of you who have donated, and I can use names. It's not like it used to be. They're so hard. I know I'm mad, but come take a card, because you don't know someone today, but tomorrow you run into someone that you're canvassing to vote, a new neighbor, you know. I met the loveliest new neighbors this week. I asked them if they were registered to vote, and then I complimented them on their flag, and now they're my friends, because you know what they are, and they will get all the literature. So all this stuff, tonight, make sure you clear the tables. Take the literature. If you're not going to use it, bring it to the back so that the workers and the volunteers get out early tonight. Thank you very much for all your support, to support the troops. I need names. Thank you. God bless all of you, your family, all our military, all our families, and President Trump, and all those in office. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. All right, so why do we ask for donations? As I've mentioned before, because this is a business that we're operating, so we have operating expenses. When we send out the text, when we send out the voice message, our mailings, renting the room. So there's a lot of expenses to keep this going, and we try to keep a reservoir of money in case we ever get sued or we need to do some major projects. So that's why we need money. So we're asking to remember the buckets on their table are not to put garbage in there, to put bills in there. And I always say, the bigger the bill, the bigger the thrill. So please, be generous. Or buy some tickets or somewhere else. So thank you always for your generosity. We greatly appreciate it. All right. Pennsylvania Pro-Life, Right for Life March was on the 22nd. And I took a bus out of my church, which is Sacred Heart of Bethlehem. On the left is, we went to morning mass. There on the right, we're on the steps over there in Harrisburg with a couple signs of some of my churches there that are our sponsors. So we have about 6 Catholic churches that sponsored us, which include St. Anne's out of Bethlehem, Sacred Heart out of Bethlehem, Notre Dame out of Bethlehem, Sacred Heart in Bath, and St. James E. Francis Chantel out of Easton. So thank you to those sponsors. As you can see, it was well attended there, folks. That's right there from the steps there. And this is my bus. We took this picture in front of a church. You see that little girl there in the front? That's not, I don't know, was she our youngest? No, we had a couple of ECL students there on the left, those pretty young girls in the blue. And then the little girl, Gabby, she got her picture taken over and over again. Because a child is a gift from God, created in his own image. Is Pastor Robert here tonight? He said he was going to come. He was also at the pro-life event the other night, or actually the other day. He was going to try to make it tonight. I don't believe he did. But next up will be the campaign manager for our Congressman Ryan McKenzie, Andres Weller, and also from Congressman McKenzie's office, Ryan Helfer. I think I have that right. So let's give them a round of applause.
Good evening. We have MAGA. That is awesome to say. So thank you guys so much for having us here. And real quick, because they just work so tirelessly every day for our movement and making sure that conservatives continue to get elected. Let's just give a round of applause for Andrew Azan and Tom Campione so much for this movement. And we greatly appreciate them. So I'm going to Republicans voted to keep the government open, and Democrats voted or trying to get illegal immigrants on your Medicare. Don't listen to me. Take it from Maxine Waters. She was venting about it on the Capitol steps. But what I want to talk about is what's going to be happening in 33 days, and why in 33 days it's going to be so important for what happens next year. In 33 days is November 4th, which is our 2025 local elections. And why are Mackenzie people up here talking about this? Well, we're still on the ground, we're helping, and we're trying to be very invested in the 2025 elections, and we need all of you to also be invested in helping out and giving up whatever time you have to help us succeed here in 2025. And let me just tell you why we won in 2024. We won in 2024 because we had people like yourselves here, we had early vote action, we had the party, we had McCormick's team, Trump's team, our team, helping and working together for one common mission, and that is getting Republicans elected. And if we do that again in 2025, we will succeed. Why is 2025 important for 2026? Well, we have some candidates here that are running this year, and they will tell you that in Lehigh County, Josh Siegel, the Democrat, wants to put curing mobile vans. That is going to advantage the Democrats in the mail-in ballot game. They're doing that, and they said it's to tip the balance in 2026. Northampton County, Tara Zorinsky and Lamont McClure want to put a vote-on-demand center at Lehigh University, and they say it's fair. Well, it's a poll that won 80% for Kamala Harris, so that doesn't seem very fair to us. So these elections are going to have direct consequences on what happens in 2026. We lose the House in 2026, they're going to impeach Donald Trump. If they impeach Donald Trump and tie him up on that, there goes the last 2 years of his agenda, and back to open borders, back to the failed Biden policies that have gotten us into such disasters. So when people say, oh, it's 2025 and I meet these voters all the time knocking on doors, oh, I voted for Trump, but not, this election isn't important. It is, and we need to make sure that we get out and help. So whether that is volunteering with Early Vote Action, an amazing organization that does so much, or volunteering with us, and the reason we have Helford up here is he runs our grassroots on our campaign. He's going to talk to you about the 2 opportunities. There should be some on your table. Just please, if you can, give a little bit of time, come out. We've been phone banking, door knocking, and it's all helping these 2025 candidates. The reason we're doing it now is because it will help us in 2026. And together, we can do things that people said McCormick wasn't going to win in EPOP, Casey. Well, guess what? He did. So whenever someone says we're not beating Josh Shapiro, point to that election, and together we're going to be able to turn the tide in 26. But it cannot be done unless we win here in 25 this year. So I just want to turn it over to Ryan Helper, and he'll give you opportunities on how to help out.
All right, thanks for everyone to be here. It's a great turnout. Thanks again to the whole team here to put this event on. It's awesome to be here. Like was previously mentioned, we have to get out there. We have to knock the doors, make phone calls. 2025 is coming soon, and then right around the corner is 2026. So there's a bunch of ways to get involved on all of your tables. There are little flyers with some information on a couple of events that are coming up this weekend. This Saturday, we're going to be out at the Northampton County Republican Committee headquarters at 11 to go out door knocking in that area and in your local areas. And then on Monday, we're going to be doing phone banking from our Mackenzie headquarters down on South Cedar Crest Boulevard in Allentown. If you don't have a flyer there, I'll be around. I'll be over there right by the early vote action table. If you have any questions, come see me. If you want to get any more information, come see me. If you want to get set up to door knock or phone bank from your home or in your area, come see me. All right, thanks everyone.
All right, folks. Next up are 3 of our PA House state reps, which include Ann Flood, Zach Mako, and Representative Mackenzie. So welcome to the stage. They're going to each get a mic. We're going to let them talk, and then we'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions you might have. So be patient with them. Let's give them a good welcome here, folks. So start by introducing themselves and tell you what municipalities, if you could, what municipalities municipalities you represent, if you can remember them all, and it would be hard for me to remember all the municipalities, so, okay.
I'm state rep.
Oh, hold on, bear with us, technical difficulty. Let's try that. Yep, go ahead.
I'm state representative from Lee McKenzie, and I represent the 131st district. It's very gerrymandered. I've been gerrymandered by the Democrats. Last time around, when Governor Wolf was in power, he made a mess of our voting districts, our legislative districts. So I have a sliver of Northampton County, part of Lower Saucon, not even all of Lower Saucon. Then I move over to Lehigh County, where I have Center Valley, Coopersburg, Upper Milford, Lower Milford, and then I move down into the top part of Montgomery County. There I have East Greenville, Red Hill, Pennsburg, Salford, and part of Marlborough Township, and Upper Hanover Township. So it's a very crazy looking map, and if you want to know about gerrymandering, just keep in mind that the Democrats have done it to us in Pennsylvania.
I want to know about everywhere. What does that mean?
Okay, the lines of the legislative districts are carved into sections where each representative has approximately 67,000 constituents. And the Democrats were in charge of the gerrymander map last time because it was represented by a few people from the House, a Republican and a Democrat. On the Senate side, there was a Republican and a Democrat representative. So that's 2 to 2, even. But the deciding vote went to a Democrat who was appointed by Governor Wolf. So at the end of the day, the governor had the power to change the legislative maps. Now, if you know anything about Lehigh County, I used to have the borough of Emmaus in the heart of my district. But in order to save a Democrat seat, they created a new seat. So they chopped Emmaus out of the middle of my district, and they pushed it up into Allentown to save a Democrat seat. And so, it looks like a crazy puzzle piece. And then I also have a few little parts that are disconnected from my district in Salisbury Township, and all of this was to get my number up to 67 to 69,000 people. But it goes like this, and then I have what I call my Hawaiian Islands in Salisbury. They're not connected, they're little portions. But it's very crazy. And it's a little challenging, I have to admit, to represent 3 different counties. I have 3 different state senators. I have 3 different Republican parties. I have 3 of everything because I have to go, to things in Montgomery County, things in Lehigh County, and things in Northampton County. So I'm not the only one. I think there's 1 or 2 other people who have 3 at least, and maybe somebody has 4 counties in their district. But when they blame the Republicans for gerrymandering, it has gone back and forth, who's ever in power, at the moment when the census comes out. That's who makes the determination. So it's a little complicated, but you can read up on it, and that's how I ended up with my little odd district. But I have a lot of good Republicans, faithful Republicans, and everybody looks at Montgomery County as being radically left. But actually, my strongest voters are the Republicans in Montgomery County. It's very rural, and they are true blue, solid conservatives, unlike Lower Saucon and Upper Saucon, which are more purple areas. So it is what it is, and I'm doing the best I can. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ann Flood, and I represent the 138th district completely in Northampton County. And my district consists of Moore Township, Chapman Borough, Bush Hill Township, Plainfield Township, Wingat, Penarville, Rosetto, East Bangor, Washington Township, Bangor Borough, Upper Mount Bethel, Lower Mount Bethel, Portland, Forks, Dockertown. And I think that's it. There's 15 in total. So that's about what I remember. So, and I have about 66,000 constituents in my district. And I am in no, that's Joe and Bethel Township. Yeah, I used to have Bethel Township. But my district, as Malou was explaining how our maps changed this last time, in Northampton County, my district was fairly Republican. It was a pretty Republican district. And Joe Emmerich, who's on the other side, Zach's on one side, Joe's on the other. Joe Emmerich was in a very Republican district. And they gerrymandered the districts, they call it cracking and packing. Well, they packed my district with all Republicans. I ended up picking up all of Joe Emmerich's big Republican areas, and they gave Joe all of my Democrat areas, most of my Democrat areas, and made his district very, very competitive. So each election, he really has to go out and fight hard to maintain his seat in our Republican caucus. And we fight tooth and nail, all of us. Well, I mean, I have a Republican seat, so it doesn't matter though, because then I might face a primary where Joe's, will always face a general. So we're always fighting for our seats and making sure that we are representing each other. But just to talk about how stupid these maps are, and I will use that word stupid, Joe Emmerich's seat was so gerrymandered, it was over a chili festival. Because when the powers to be were designing those maps, Representative Freeman was in the meeting, and he said, Town has this really great chili festival. I'd like to have that chili festival back. And they're like, well, who doesn't like Bob Freeman? He's such a nice guy. Let's give him that chili festival. Well, they reached through Bob's map so he could have that chili festival and screwed Joe Emmerich in the process and really made his seat very, very competitive. And I mean, that's just how stupid they are drawing these maps. There's no sense to it, but they do it because they were trying to get an edge. If you ever look at the map of Pennsylvania, you're going to see all of red except for Philly and Pittsburgh, they're blue. You see a little bit of blue and red and a little bit in Allentown. But for the most part, the state's red, so they had to find a way to try and get an edge. And so through gerrymandering and drawing those maps the way they did, they really tried to give themselves an advantage. And they did, because you see it in the House. We are at 102 to 101, and we can get nothing accomplished. Nothing can get accomplished. So thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Zach Mako from the 183rd. I have the district I represent. I have Lehigh and Northampton counties that kind of split the district. It goes from Low Hill Township to North Whitehall, Slatington, Walnut Port, Lehigh Township, the other half, the better half of Moore Township, that it doesn't represent. Northampton, Allen, East Allen, North Caddy, and Bath. So that's the 183rd, that's the district that I represent. And since we opened Pandora's box on gerrymandering, just a real quick recap on that. It does change who you represent and how you represent people as well. I can tell you, when I first came in 2016, when I first got elected, my district, the 183rd that I represented, it was a D+6 seat. So the registration favored Democrats by 6. Now, Ann's was very similar. It was like a D+4 or something like that. Now we have Republican plus 10 seats because of that crack and pack that they did. And they also created a new seat for a Democrat, Josh Siegel, in the city of Allentown through that. Prior to redistricting, it was 6 Republicans to 5 Democrats, and now that's switched. Another note on that, when I came in at 16, we had 121 Republicans in the House, in the State House. Now we have 101. And a lot of those seats that we lost were down in the Philly area, the Philly suburbs. There was 20, when I came in, there was 20-some Republicans, about 15-some Republicans down in those areas. And I'll tell you what, Ian was talking about Joe Emmerich. See, these are the seats that if you lose, you're not winning them back. So we need to hold on to these seats because once you lose them, you're not getting them back. But yeah, a little bit about gerrymandering. So I guess I'll turn it over. Andy, you want to go over your prepared remarks?
Sure. When Andrew called and asked us to speak, there were several topics that he asked us to touch on. And so I just had put a little draft together, just kind of touch on it, and then we can kind of go off of this. I appreciate the opportunity. We all do appreciate the opportunity to be here today to address you and talk about some of these issues. Some of the issues we're going to talk about, the main issues, is on pro-life. We're also going to talk about gun legislation, the state budget impasse, and also the judge retention races. We're going to start with the gun legislation. Over the past several weeks, House Democrats have kicked out several gun bills, and they're trying to chip away at our constitutional right to bear arms. These proposals range from restrictions on so-called ghost guns to new firearm prohibitions to extreme risk protection orders, or like the red flag. House Republicans have been very clear about this, that we stand with law-abiding Pennsylvanians instead of criminalizing responsible gun owners. We should be enforcing the laws already on the books and making sure that violent offenders aren't being held accountable. When laws are enforced fairly and responsibly, and citizens are able to exercise their rights, crimes go down. In fact, we've seen that play out in Pennsylvania over the years. In addition to the recent discussions in Harrisburg, have highlighted the importance of focusing on violent offenders and preventing illegal firearms from reaching the wrong hands rather than placing additional burdens on law-abiding gun owners. Lawmakers continue to debate measures such as expanded background checks, limits on certain accessories, and ways to improve enforcement of existing laws, all while maintaining respect for Second Amendment rights.
So real quick, just on some of the goofiness, how many of you are firearm owners? Just, can I get it? Yeah. I feel super safe in here, actually. Having said that, though, if they want to do universal background checks, can you all tell me, I'm just trying to get you guys involved, how many background checks do you go through in Pennsylvania? Yeah, how many background checks do you do that when you purchase a firearm in Pennsylvania? You have two. Yeah, you have the PICS and the NICS check, right? You have a federal check, and then because Pennsylvania wants to go above and beyond, we have the PICS system too. So that just goes to show you how clueless they are when it comes to firearms and purchasing. You do two background checks every time you purchase a firearm. Sorry, I just wanted to jump in on that.
Yeah, no problem. No, it's a critical conversation, and it's one that affects the public safety in every community across Pennsylvania. So, and we can talk about more of that and answer some of the questions as we move on after the remarks. But speaking of the pro-life front, Andrew was just saying that he was out there for that rally. Last month, thousands of Pennsylvanians gathered in the state capitol for the annual March for Life. The event brought together advocates from across the Commonwealth to support the unborn. In the House, several pro-life measures have been introduced. These include requiring schools to teach early human development using ultrasounds and computer-generated animation, ensuring that physicians check for a heartbeat before an abortion can be performed, and requiring dignity for unborn children in the form of a proper burial or care of remains. There's also a proposal to designate the month of June as Life Month here in Pennsylvania. All of these bills reflect the commitment to valuing life and teaching the next generation about the humanity of the unborn. So that's what we're working on. So turning to the state budget, As we all know, we're in a budget impasse still. We're 3 months into that budget impasse. That means that there is a delay in funding for schools, counties, mass transit, and other important services. There have been some encouraging signs recently, but every time we hear there's an encouraging sign, then things fall apart. Transit service cuts have been avoided, thankfully, at least in the short term, through an interim solution, and the governor has put forward a new budget now, proposal at $49.9 billion, which is lower than his original ask. So, which was like $51.5 billion. That's a step in the right direction for sure. But the underlying problem in Pennsylvania is that we don't have enough revenue coming in to meet the needs of what the governor's ask is. We're facing a structural deficit at the moment, and our state continues to spend more than we bring in.
Back in February, when Governor Shapiro proposed his budget, it was an outrageous ask from day one. It was shocking because he wanted to spend $5 billion more than we have coming in. Now, no one in our personal accounting can spend more than we have coming in because we know that we are limited. Whereas the Democrats, Governor Shapiro, he was in the la-la land saying, well, I know we're going to someday have legalized marijuana, so that'll be a little more income. And we're going to have sale games, so that'll be a little more income. But even with those unrealistic expectations at this time, it was not enough to close that $5 billion. Last year we spent $3 billion more than we had coming in, and we resorted to taking some of our reserves. And they wanted to do it again this year until they would deplete our emergency funds to zero. And emergency funds are really meant for emergencies. A few months ago, I had an op-ed in the Morning Call. I don't know if you read that. But, I said an emergency might be, there could be a fire in the governor's mansion. Oh, guess what? There was. There could be all kinds of situations where we need an emergency fund. They deplete it.
Real quick, I'll touch on the numbers just so you all know what we're actually doing. Ann and I both sit on appropriations, so that's the money committee in Harrisburg. So we bring in around $45.5 billion in the Commonwealth. We'll just say 46, depending on what revenues are. Last budget, we didn't vote for it, but we spent $48 billion. So that's $2 billion more than we brought in. The first Tuesday of February, the governor gives his address, right? This year he wanted $51.5 billion, like Ann said. Well, if you're doing the math, that's $5 billion more than we're bringing in. Our rainy day fund, which is our savings account that Lou was just talking about, it's called the Budget Stabilization Reserve Fund, if you guys actually care. But we have like 6 to 8 billion in that, plus 2 from the previous year rollover. So when it comes to this, and he wants to close the gap with legalizing marijuana and gaming, as Lou just mentioned, during appropriations this year, when we talked to the LCP, so the Liquor Control Board, they would be the ones that would be managing the legalized marijuana. We asked them, hey, has the governor even talked to you guys about this? And they said no. And then when asked, hey, what would it cost you guys to stand up legalized marijuana here in the Commonwealth? They said, well, we couldn't use the same like fine wines and spirits. We couldn't use those stores. We would have to do our different stores, so we would have to rent different stores, and it would cost us about $320 million to do that. And the projected revenues from licensing is only $360 million. So that is in no way closing the $5 billion gap. So when people are like, oh, hey, there's a budget impasse, this is the stuff that we're fighting. Reckless spending, and okay, yeah, we could all approve that, but then that means, guess what? Taxes are going up, and that is not cool. So we need to live within our means, and that's what we've been fighting for in Harrisburg. So when you hear a budget impasse, we're fighting to live within our means. So those are the actual numbers that we're dealing with, and now we just came up with 49,999,999. Because the Senate Republicans said that they would not sign anything that has a 5 in front of it, so they came up with 49,999.
So with that impasse, I have to tell you that the Senate is actually doing a good job being the backstop to this and the governor. This is the 3rd year in a row that he has not been able to deliver a budget on time. And in the past, they have been kind of willing to cave and negotiate under the pressures, of the county and the school districts and stuff. But at some point, we have to stand up and say, no, you need to come to the table and you need something reasonable. And so what they did in the meantime is they passed the Senate, the Republican Senate passed something called a stopgap budget back in August. So that is essentially last year's entire budget that we're living on now, our state's living on now. They passed it again in August and sent it to the House Appropriations to pass it, hopefully pass it out, and then for the full House to vote on. And I did explain to you that our House is Democrat control now. So it went to Appropriations Committee, and the Democrat majority Appropriations Committee voted no. And that is the reason why our counties and our schools are currently not being funded. The transit is not being funded. Everything the squeeze that we're feeling now is not because of the Republican Senate that you hear in the news. Everybody likes to blame the Republican Senate, but they passed the stopgap budget temporarily to release last year's funds while they continue working on the rest of this year's budget. And that would have stopped a lot of what we're seeing. And the senior programs that are being canceled, and all the human services, mental health services that are being stopped, that our counties are, we're hearing a lot about it in Northampton County, which has been egregious. And we, the 3 of us, have addressed that with County Executive McClure. He wasn't very happy about it, but we had to definitely address his lies. Let's call it what it is. They were a bunch of lies, and it scared a lot of people. And it put a lot of pressure back on us as Republicans, and we don't have a Republican senator in Northampton County. So we have 2 Democratic senators, Lisa Boscola and Nick Miller, and they're not going to come and make that right. So we, as the Republican House members, wrote a letter and corrected it. We put out a press release, although of course the paper didn't print it. So I just wanted to make sure that we got that out there.
All of this pain and waiting, and then the necessity to borrow could have been avoided. It absolutely could have been avoided, and the money could have kept flowing while they continued to iron out little differences. But they said no. The Democrats said no. They wanted to inflict this pain, and they want to blame us. So that's the name of the game here in Pennsylvania, just as it is in Washington. And that's where we're struggling to try to get this right. And then Stacey Garrett.
Yeah, she has that loan program. But and just to clear the record too, because we're learning. I mean, the budget's $48 billion, what they've had. It's hard to keep a grasp on all of that, but through this, I know we learned on the Appropriations Committee that should the school districts and the counties take out loans, the state's responsible for helping them pay that back in the interest that they accrue on it as well. So if you hear something other than that, fabrication is a lie, but that also falls on the state level as well.
That was something Tara Zarinsky put out in a statement that they would have to pay the interest back. The counties would, and that is not true.
The Senate is going to meet next week, though, and as I was starting to say, State Treasurer Stacey Garrett has put out a $500 loan for people to get for loan. 500 million, yeah, except for million billion. But 500 million, which would allow people across the Commonwealth to borrow the money and at a very low interest rate. But now, from what I understand, the Senate is going to come in and say that the loans will become interest-free. So, you know, they can't get the money anyway, and they will get the money anyway, but this disruption has been caused by the Democrats.
And if you guys, any of you are interested, and you're interested in some light reading, you can go on our websites, and we have that letter that we posted that goes through this, all factually based. So if you're talking to somebody and they're calling you out on it, you can point right here and say, hey, look, this is what's actually going on.
If you send it to us, we'll post it and get it out to all of our members. So if you do that, we'll get it out to all of you. We'll make it easy.
We like to deal with that. Finally, then, I just wanted to touch on the judge retention. I know you all have the papers on the table as well. This year, the 3 Supreme Court justices are up for retention. I think it's really important that we vote no on this. Those people are Christine Donahue, Kevin Doherty, and David West. All 3 were first elected in 2015 during a race that shifted the balance of the court. Over the last decade, the court issued a number of decisions, in our view, were very driven by politics rather than the Constitution. These include rulings that open the door for lawsuits against the legislature over education funding, decisions to allow mail-in ballots with errors to be counted, as well as back in 2020, they were counting them days after the election was over, and opinions that were upheld sweeping COVID shutdown orders that devastated small businesses, and we all know the small businesses are the backbones of our community. So the retention elections don't often draw the same attention as open seat judicial races, but these are very, very important elections. This is a very, very important no to be able to change things in Pennsylvania. These votes give Pennsylvanians the opportunity to hold judges accountable and ensure our courts remain faithful to the law as written, which is another issue that we have where with the mail-in ballots, the no-excuse mail-in ballots, where they legislated from the bench, and that is not legal, that is not their job, that is not what they are elected to do. The judiciary is supposed to interpret the law, not rewrite it based on political preferences. So to sum it up, whether it's protecting the Second Amendment rights, standing up for life, working toward a responsible budget, or safeguarding the integrity of our judiciary, we remain committed to representing the values of our district in Harrisburg. So thank you again for the opportunity to talk and share this update with you, and we're happy to talk more with any questions that you have.
Okay, so Juan, one of our board members who's raising his hand, he has the mic. Do not shout any questions. He will come to you and please speak into the microphone. So we're looking for questions. We'll take about 3 to 5 questions here.
And while Juan's doing that, I just wanted to touch on a couple of notes that I was taking. I'm a millennial, so I use my phone. I don't use a pen and paper. So I wasn't texting up here, I was just taking notes. But I want to highlight something that was brought to my attention, and I didn't even know this was going on, but in Canada, this week, they just had a gun buyback that ended because they're outlawing firearms. This is big stuff. So to think that it's not happening, we have to hold the line, and that's why the votes that we took this week were consequential, and they went down. Even a Democrat voted. We got 102 for one of the gun bills that we voted on this week. A Democrat voted with us, so the bill actually went down. So that was big. Ann touched on, last point, Ann touched on the mail-in ballots. Whether you like them, hate them, whatever, they're here to stay, they're not going anywhere. One of the biggest things, and I was just talking to HRC about this, is turnout. We need to turn out with the mail-in ballots. If we can get over 30% of the mail-in ballots to be Republican, we win these elections. So one of the things that decided John Fetterman's election was we only had 17% of the mail-in ballots from Republicans. If we get over 28 to 30%, they're not making up that difference. Because if you only have 17% of the mail-in ballots come in that are Republican, you can't make up that difference on election day. But if you know people that are unable to make it, get the absentee or the mail-in ballot and get them voting. Sorry. Go ahead, Juan.
There are three Supreme Court races, but there's also the Court of Common Pleas as well as a Superior Court. That's 5. In Northampton County, we have 2 countywide judges for retention. So, for example, in Northampton County, you're going to vote no, 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 and no, 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 consistently. Remember the song? No.
Al, you will be a good volunteer.
Any other questions? Are there other Democrats that kind of are against their party, but they're afraid to say or do anything for funding, or just looking like they're supposed to be racist and all that other nonsense they spew out at us? And what will it take them to actually kind of like better, like the last person we thought would have common sense, like go against what's right, not just their party?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say in Harrisburg there are none, because they take their marching orders from Joanna McClinton, who is the speaker, Matt Bradford, the Democrat leader. They probably get trickle-down orders from Governor Shapiro, who gets trickle-down orders from the National Democrat Committee. So our agenda in Harrisburg follows very closely to what the goals are of the Democrats on the national level. And we have some very nice people from our area who are Democrats. And, when I say they're very nice people, they're very polite, they're civil. When we're out here in our neighborhood of the Lehigh Valley, everybody's very kind to one another. But Bob Freeman from the eastern area of Hellertown has probably been in the House for close to 40 years. And the whole time I've been there, which is now 5 years, he has never once voted with our side. They vote as a bloc. Every Democrat puts their name up for whatever the Democrat leadership tells them. And if they ever do deviate, they have a whip. I've seen it not recently, but in a couple sessions back. I would see their whip, pull them out of their seat, and dress them down until they change their vote back to being Democrat. On our side, we have a whip, but I would say we don't even have a wet noodle. We have more freedom, because Republicans in general are more independent thinkers. So sometimes they, want to vote the way they need to vote or feel they want to vote for their district. But the Democrats do not deviate from the party line. And you can follow it because our votes are put out on the public website, so you can follow along and see. Now there's this one person that we are grateful voted for us because he is a Democrat, ironically, serving for a long time in a very solid red district. So his name is Frank Burns, and he occasionally throws us a bone and votes with us on the gun issues because he's representing his district in order to keep that seat. But he is probably the only one who I've been aware of that has voted Republican on anything. Have you seen anything different, guys? Zach's been there longer than I have.
Yeah, the issue is, especially when I first came in 2016, you had more legacy blue dog Democrats that would pro-life, pro-family, pro-gun. But those guys have since been taken out by the progressives, so you don't really see them that much. If you talk to some of the Democrats offline, they'll agree with us on some issues, but some of them can be conservative, but their party really does have like a fear grip on them that they will not break ranks. But yeah, the days of blue dog Democrats are kind of long.
Well, they get stripped of committees.
Yeah.
They get kicked out of offices.
The Democrats are like brutal. They will. There's a lady named Rosita Youngblood from Philly, and they took her office away. They just gave her a desk outside in the hallway. And they'll take their staff away in their office. Oh yeah, they play hardball. So if you're not on the team, yeah, they have real consequences. Whereas our team's kind of like, well, don't do it again.
Okay, one more question at the back of the room.
Yeah, I wonder if I'm similar to a lot of us that we just feel frustrated that we just, we're just one vote, and we can go door knocking and everything, but it seems like Republicans have a habit of just taking a break on these off elections. Is there anything that you could do? I know it's late in the game, but is there something that could be done to kind of raise everybody's awareness and take advantage of this positive feeling that we have about the presidential administration? The White House is doing a great job of just in-your-facing it to these Democrats. Is there anything that we can do to fire up the Lehigh Valley?
I think the biggest thing is just getting out and talking to your neighbors. I think Valerie, wherever she is, Ferguson, when she was talking about meeting her new neighbor, just bring it up. I think it's you're talking about it, and the right time comes up to say, hey, are you registered to vote? Are you going out to vote? Are you making plans to vote?
Get your mail-in ballot.
Did you get your mail-in ballot? We can order one for you. Do you need any help? So, and if you don't know what to do, I'm sure somebody in here, we can help. Somebody in here, you know somebody in here? Andrew, Tom, give somebody a shout, shoot them a text like, hey, I got somebody that's interested in voting. And you all know it's very important. And off-year election, that was one of my notes. Off-year election, there is no off-year election.
From the top of the ballot to the bottom of the ballot, every Republican has to win. Because it starts even at the lower level of the school board. Because they are very pivotal in making America great or making America terrible. So every election is just so important. We can never downplay and say, oh, it's an off year, it's not a big deal. Every election is a big deal, and it has to be that way if we want to keep the MAGA ball rolling. So do the best you can by convincing your friends and neighbors.
Well, I think also it's important to get involved with your county party. I think that's really important. We have committee members for a reason, and these committee members need to be actively engaged in their specific communities to be raising awareness about the judge retention races, about making sure people are registered, going to our local carnivals and the farm show. I have a farm show and a farmer's fair. I know that our Hampton County Republicans have tables set up there. They got the clipboards. There's people out there getting people registered to vote or helping them get signed up for mail-in ballots. There's a Slate Up Republican group. They do that as well. I mean, this is how we need to really make sure we're getting in front of people's faces in our communities and making sure that we're represented through our county parties and making sure that people see us and know why it's important to have that mail-in ballot or to make sure you're going to go get out and vote day at polls. Get them involved. Have them be a poll watcher. That these are things that we need as Republicans. Because I hear it over and over again, and Andrea, you probably can talk to it too. People like judge of elections. There are people that did it for years that are like, I'm done, and now there's nobody. So we need people to get involved as well. So I
If you win the county executive race, they're the one that puts the person in charge that runs the election office. So think about that.
Yeah, the elections are ran through the counties, as we all know. And one last caveat about that is we need volunteers, and we always need money too, because at the end of the day, we get outspent like 6-1. The Democrats have a lot of money, and we get outspent like 6-1. We have a better message, so it resonates, but these are just things to keep in the back of your mind.
You can't promote it. If you don't have the money to promote it in mailers or text messages, you could have a fabulous candidate, but if you can't get that message out, we're not going to win. We're not going to win that seat.
Folks, hopefully, will you guys be able to hang around during the break in case anyone has any questions? All right, so if you have any questions, if you want to address any of our three fine house reps here, we want to give them a round of applause here, folks.
Thank you, guys.
We're staying local here. We have our Lehigh County Executive Candidate, Roger McLean. Now, Roger, if you could slide that forward a little bit, just be careful. Yeah, just move forward a little bit. It's just the stage you're passing through. Okay. Do a mic test here?
Mic is off. Turn it on.
I don't think it's on. Try it again. Switch on top. It should be green.
All right, now,
There we go.
just to piggyback on what they said about the finances. I'm fighting an uphill battle. Finances, my opponent has over $200,000, which he got most of it as being a state rep. I'm nowhere near the $200,000. I am having a fundraiser though, the next Thursday night. If you can't make it, you certainly can donate. The address to send a check is on there. It's also on my website, Roger McLean for Lehigh County Executive.com, and you can also donate on there. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold, but anyhow, just to follow up one thing on what Andrew said also, is that the county executive picks the board in the county. There's one Republican representative, one Democrat representative, and the county executive. So having a Republican would give us 2-to-1 in Lehigh County, which is very important for a lot of things, a lot of decisions that are made. I was going around some of the tables here. You know, there's an old saying that the flak is always the heaviest when you're over the target. Josh Siegel is spreading a lot of bull. And one of his ads is attacking me for living in a city house. He said it's a taxpayer subsidized house. I'm going to set the record straight here on those things. I'll set the record straight with you guys and you can tell your friends. First of all, he said it was a taxpayer subsidized house. Not one penny of taxpayer money went into that house. The only money that went into that city house that I repaired and upgraded was my own personal money, in addition to paying the rent. I did both. He says I avoided paying taxes. Yeah, real estate taxes. Over my lifetime, and he wouldn't know that yet because he's just a young snot-nose. I own 3 houses in Lehigh County, paid taxes on all of them, not at once, don't get me wrong, over my lifetime. So I have paid taxes in Lehigh County, and as most of you know, some of you may be landlords, when you rent property to somebody, you include the taxes in that rent, so that gets paid. It's not like it's a free. Second of all, he's attacking me about my tenure as chief of police because of some of the incidents that have come to light and are now in litigation involving sex offenses. Any allegation or misconduct that came to my office when I was the chief of police was thoroughly investigated. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. When I was a captain, I was actually involved in a case where we went to court and got a wiretap order to put a wiretap in the police car to catch an officer who was doing inappropriate things. So, and he's also saying that crime was rampant. Under my tenure, the 8 years I was chief, Part 1 crimes, which are the most severe crimes, actually fell 26% over those 8 years. And that was having less men on the department because the previous mayor, Roy Alzabot, had given a sweetheart pension deal to the police and the fire, which caused 64 officers to retire at the end of 2005. So we were fighting an uphill battle the whole time, and the guys did it. I don't take credit for it. The guys on the street are the ones that did that work. So I was just happy to be driving the ship, that's all. So anyhow, again, I know you've heard it tonight. It's very important. Make sure you get out to vote. Make sure you get your friends, your relatives, anybody you know. They've got to get out to vote. We've got to get a better turnout than we had in the primary. We only had 14%, and the Democrats had 19%, and I think Zach said something about the mail-in ballots. We got to get with it, and I'm telling people wherever I go, use the mail-in ballot. So, as far as that, make sure you vote. I'll leave a couple of my cards in the back. Most of you know who I am, and there's only going to be two of us on there. It's going to be me and Josh Siegel, and Josh Siegel also said that he wants to do a 1% sales tax, as they did in Allegheny County, and it's to fund the arts or something. He said that they actually lowered property taxes in Allegheny County. Well, it doesn't take much of a Google search to see that Allegheny County is looking at the possibility of a 36% real estate tax increase in 2026. So I don't know how his math works out, but it doesn't work for me. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you.
Folks, one other thing you can vote is called on-demand voting. On-demand voting, which is going down to your county election office. You show them, oh, you have to show them an ID. So you have to show them your ID over there, and then they will give you the ballot, and you will fill out the ballot right there at the election office, put it in a sealed envelope, and submit it there. So if you have folks that are afraid that if you drop it off at a drop box or put it in the mail, go down to your county election office and say you would like to do on-demand voting. I would encourage you to call the election office to make sure they're allowed to do it at the current time, or call your local Lehigh County or our Northampton County Republican office. Roger is here somewhere in the room. Where's Roger? If you have any questions, you can call our office. He's there from 9 till about 2 o'clock, and we'll answer any and every question that might occur. If we don't have an answer, we'll get you the answer. Next up is our coffee sponsor, another candidate, actually two candidates, a daughter and dad, Jackie Rivera, and his dad here. Show the children the information.
Yeah, she's in Chicago, so we're
There you go.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. And giving you some updates on my campaign. I'm Jackie Rivera, and I'm running for Lehigh County Commissioner in District 3. I ran for the seat in 2021, and I got 41% of the vote, so I overperformed that year. But the following year, they did redistrict this district to make it more Democratic. But the reason I stepped up to run again is that my opponent, for the past few years, he hasn't been committed to the seat. He zooms in consistently, never present in the district. So I wanted to make sure to hold him accountable to the seat. Because I think that's what we need to do, is make sure these Democrats are not running unopposed in these seats. We have to challenge them in these tough races. And look what we just learned recently from my opponent, that he just got arrested at his job at City Hall in Bethlehem, part of an interstate drug ring. Yeah, so and right now it's past the deadline, he's not resigning, and his statement is that this is all political. So and I don't think that we deserve in this district to have to wait to what happens to him, in his court case. Yes, he's legally he's innocent until proven guilty, but a 3-year investigation is not just a headline here. This is a very serious matter, and the people in this district deserve more. And that's why last week I had a fundraiser. I'm raising money right now because mailers and text messaging to the end are going to be really important in this race. It's going to be really critical to get out the vote in this diverse district. And I just want to let you know it includes Allentown wards 1, 2, 3, 9, 13, east side of Allentown. Fearless Fire Company is in this district. West Bethlehem, Fountain Hill, Hanover Township, and Catasauqua. So if you live in those areas, I will be on your ballot. I also want to mention my dad's race, because the Allentown School Board race is super important, because we're actually going to have a Republican get elected. So the Democrat majority board, and it has been a disarray. Since my dad hasn't been on the board, Robert Smith Jr., in the past 6 years, there's been a lot of wasteful spending, administrators have doubled, and the school district is in a disarray. There's 4 incumbents that are not running in this election. And there's only 3 Democrats on the ballot, so a Republican will win. And we have 3 Republicans on the ballot. It's going to be Diane Michaels, my dad, Robert Smith Jr., and Thomas Hall. There's also going to be a 2-year term race that my dad is going to be going against a Democrat. He didn't run for that in the primary, but the voters wrote him in, so he will also be on the ballot for the 2-year term. So voting for him twice for the 4-year term and the 2-year term is going to be really important to give him the best chance at getting elected. And one thing is, the community, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, they want him to get back on the board because that's how bad it is right now. So we really need, it's going to be critical to get out the vote. That is going to be our only chance in this election, is getting out the vote. And also lastly, I'm secretary of the Lehigh County Republican Committee, and right now we're organizing poll readers. So if you live in Lehigh County, you can help us out at the polls on election day. I have a sign-up sheet with me. Please see me, and if you can help us out at all, whether it's 2-3 hours, we would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good night.
So not only is Jackie and her dad Robert great candidates, great help to the Lehigh County Republican Party, but they have been loyal members to the 912 Project, Lehigh Valley Tea Party, Lvtp, and they're also our coffee sponsors. So thank them for being our coffee sponsors. We are looking for a coffee sponsor next month. If one person or a group of you would like to be our coffee sponsor for next month, it's simply $125. See me, and I'll give you all the details. It's just that simple. At this time, we're getting ready to do our break, but I encourage you again, be as generous as you can. The bucket's in the center of the table, so you could put a donation in there. We greatly appreciate it. If you have any extra cash, go back to Cakes and Cannolis, our 50-50 raffle. Emily and has the 100 gun raffle tickets, I believe, or actually Mel has the 100 gun raffle tickets where it says Second Amendment. We also have the blue tickets, which are our guns and goodies. And then if you run out of cash, you can go see the girls over there. They have their credit card machines. Enjoy your break. We'll come back in about 10 to 15 minutes. I believe our house reps are going to stay a while. Ryan's over here from the congressman's office. And our candidates that just spoke are still around. Thank you. See you in a few.